Why did the boy complain of a stomach ache to the school nurse? Why did she turn pale after she took a closer look? Now, let's begin today's story. Timmy was complaining to the school nurse about a developing ache in his stomach as he was in the hallway of the school. He was clutching his stomach and tears were welling up in his eyes. Mrs. Wilson, the nurse, knelt down to have a closer look, anticipating that the patient might have a little stomach problem. Her face became pale, and her heart began to speed as she assessed Timmy's condition. However, she continued to inspect him, because she had witnessed something that she was unable to explain. She needed to take immediate action. She was well aware that she needed to move quickly. Putting her stethoscope down, she smiled at the young child as she approached him. Despite the fact that she most certainly did not wish to frighten him with her finding, she was aware that she needed to act quickly. Sweetly, Mrs. Wilson said, "Wait here. I'm going to check something." As she walked out of the room where the nurse was working and left the boy there, she needed to move quickly. Despite the fact that the tears were still slowly falling down his cheeks, Timmy nodded. To make a phone call. Mrs. Wilson had to leave the room as she was leaving. She hurriedly went to the nearest phone and dialed 911 as soon as she could. There was a possibility that this young boy's life was in jeopardy, and the school nurse was aware that she was unable to save him with the resources that she had available to her in the nurse's office. The time for action was critical. She made certain that a teacher would contact his parents before returning to the classroom once she was given the assurance that the ambulance was on its way to the scene. There, the young kid continued to weep softly. And as he gazed at her, his eyes were filled with faith and optimism. At the same time as she was beginning to wonder whether or not she had been correct in her diagnosis, she felt it in her heart. Do you think the hospital would be able to assist him? What is more essential is whether or not they would arrive in time to save him. After spending her entire life as a stay-at-home mother, Mrs. Johanna Wilson made the decision to switch careers and become a school nurse. Despite the fact that her own children had left the nest, she was still in possession of the qualifications that she had earned in the past, and she desired to continue working with children. It was why she submitted her application to work as a school nurse at an elementary school in the area. At the time, she had no idea how important she would become in the future. Her objective was to assist youngsters by treating the small injuries they sustained as a result of roughhousing in the playground. At no point in her life did she anticipate coming across something as bad as the situation of tiny Timmy. It had come as a surprise to discover him sobbing in the hallway. Wilson had not discovered him on her own. Rather, she had been informed by a fellow student. There was a warning from Emily. Johanna and Emily made a hasty trip to the location where Timmy was leaning against a wall and gripping his stomach. In response to Johanna's observation that he was breathing rapidly, she lowered herself to his level and touched his reddened forehead. It dawned on her that the fever might not be a simple case, so she made the decision to bring him to her office for examination. Timmy indicated with a nod that his pain might make it difficult for him to speak. Johanna did not want to rush him, so she accompanied him step by step. She took his temperature and questioned him in her office in order to have a better understanding of the seriousness of his ailment. Johanna was concerned by Timmy's delayed responses and groans of agony, which prompted her to use a stethoscope to listen to his abdomen by listening to his pulse. As she became aware of the gravity of his condition, she became pale. However, she was aware that prompt action was required. Johanna left Timmy with a comforting grin before going outside to call emergency services. Despite her apparent concern, she managed to keep her professional demeanor throughout the entire process. Upon her return to Timmy, she provided him with words of comfort and held his hand while they waited for the ambulance. Johanna made several attempts to get in touch with Timmy's parents while she was stationed at the hospital. As her calls went unanswered, she began to feel an increasing sense of responsibility for his health. She pleaded with him, "Please call back immediately." And her voice carried a tinge of desperation by the time the final message was delivered. Her rising anxiety for Timmy's well-being was exacerbated by the unnerving emptiness that was created by the several calls that went unanswered. There were apprehensive whispers and concerned glances passed back and forth among the staff members working in the hospital. The nurse asked Johanna about Timmy's parents, and she responded by shaking her head. Johanna's fear grew as she became more concerned. The fact that Timmy's parents were not present prompted a number of unsettling questions, which put a gloomy shade over the critical nature of his current situation. When the doors of the ambulance were shut, the glaring lack of a parent beside Timmy stood out in a way that was powerfully noticeable. As Mrs. Wilson stared through the window, her heart was filled with compassion for Timmy, and she felt a stronger determination to remain by his side. While they were rushing to the hospital, Mrs. Wilson was firmly holding Timmy's hand inside the ambulance and providing him with silent support. Johanna's concern about Timmy continued to be the primary focus of her attention, despite the fact that the emergency room was a chaotic place. In a moment of relative calm, Timmy's voice broke through the din and inquired about his parents. His tone was filled with anguish and concern when he asked the question. As Timmy's queries reverberated throughout the busy emergency room, they brought to light the fact that his parents were not present at his time of need. In the hospital room where Timmy was being treated, the medical staff discussed his symptoms with clinical objectivity in an effort to determine the root cause of his illness. While Timmy was undergoing a variety of tests, the mystery that surrounded his condition became more complicated, which caused Johanna to become increasingly anxious. During the time that they were waiting for news, Johanna remained by Timmy's side, providing him with silent support and reassurance. When Timmy confided in Mrs. Wilson about his anxiety, she offered him words of encouragement and comfort. This occurred during a period of relative calm. The presence of Johanna in the waiting room brought Timmy some measure of comfort in the face of the unpredictability. When Timmy's parents arrived at the hospital, they exhibited a neutral and disinterested demeanor, which put a shadow over the event. Their lack of warmth and concern left Timmy feeling dissatisfied, while Johanna was left feeling depressed by the absence of parental consideration. Timmy's talk with his parents came across as forced and lacked the typical warmth that is associated with close family relationships. Additionally, the interactions were superficial and without any emotional connection. It was clear that there was a lack of familial intimacy in the room, since Johanna's real concern for Timmy stood in stark contrast to the disinterested manner in which his parents carried themselves. When they returned to school, pupils and instructors alike expressed worry and curiosity about Timmy, and whispers and rumors about him flooded the hallways. The potential neglect of Timmy by his parents was the topic of discussion between his instructors and his parents. Concerns about Timmy's emotional well-being added another layer of complication to the problem. The school community came together to show their support for Timmy by arranging a variety of activities, including the creation of posters, the writing of get-well cards, and the planning of fundraising events. As Mrs. Wilson pondered on the school's response, she experienced a range of emotions, including pride in the community's solidarity and sadness for the circumstances involved. A worrying pattern of pupils suffering stomach aches and nausea was brought to her attention, and she suspected that there was a connection between the school atmosphere and the symptoms. She decided to set a meeting with the administration to share her feelings over the situation. In response to Mrs. Wilson's request for a comprehensive inquiry into the possible health hazards that pupils face, the principal has promised to conducting additional research into the matter. In the days that followed, the focus switched to the school cafeteria, where health regulators and school workers conducted inspections of the procedures for handling food, storing it, and maintaining sanitary standards. In order to gain a better understanding of the magnitude of the problem, Mrs. Wilson gathered information from kids who were afflicted by it, noting their symptoms and activities. Mrs. Wilson reviewed the findings of the lab tests with the medical team as they came in. And while she did unearth important insights, she also had the challenge of dealing with inadequate data. During the course of the medical mystery, Mrs. Wilson's intuition about the school's participation in Timmy's illness became more entrenched, indicating that there was a possibility that was concerning. The more information that Johanna learned, the more determined she became to find out the truth. This dedication ultimately led to a big breakthrough when it was discovered that Timmy might be suffering from an infection. While Johanna and her family waited in the hospital room for the final test results, Johanna prepared herself for any disclosures that might come her way and braced herself for the announcement that the doctor would make. Eventually, the physicians were able to put together the pieces of the puzzle that was Timmy's condition. They discovered that it was appendicitis with a complication, which brought both relief and alarm to the situation. Although appendicitis could be treated, the fact that a complication was mentioned suggested that there was more to the story. Mrs. Wilson remained seated, taking in the information while her mind struggled to make sense of the consequences. Although receiving the diagnosis was a great milestone, it also created a new chapter of concern for the patient. After further investigation, it was discovered that Timmy's appendicitis was being worse by an unanticipated factor: a salmonella infection. Johanna's concerns on the possibility of a connection to the school were validated by this revelation. Timmy's illness had become more serious as a result of the infection, which had made it worse. There was a wave of anxiety that Mrs. Wilson felt, not only for Timmy but also for the larger school community as a whole. The significance and worrisome nature of this revelation indicated that there was a more widespread health problem that required attention. In a short amount of time, Timmy was set up for surgery. Mrs. Wilson provided words of encouragement to him as he was being wheeled into the operating room. Her presence served as a source of strength for him through the procedures. The surgical procedure was successful, which brought about a significant sense of relief. Throughout the entire process, Johanna offered unflinching support and determination, and she never wavered in her commitment. Her concern for Timmy went beyond the requirements of her job. Rather, it was a profound personal dedication to his health and happiness. Timmy started his road to recovery after the operation was over and he was done with it. It was a long path that lay ahead. However, he was no longer by himself. He looked forward to Mrs. Wilson's visits on a daily basis, and they were a highlight of his day. Books were delivered by her. She told stories, and she offered words of encouragement. The fact that she was there served as a reassuring reminder of the care and love that was all around him. Their connection became stronger in the confines of the hospital room, which had been established through the challenges that they had endured together. A one-of-a-kind connection had been established between Mrs. Wilson and Timmy as a result of their shared experience of Timmy's illness and recovery. From the relationship of a student and a school nurse to something far more profound. Their friendship had developed over time. Timmy has come to view Mrs. Wilson as a guardian figure, a mentor, and a friend for quite some time. Throughout their journey together, which was marked by fear, hope, and finally triumph over adversity. This bond served as a tribute to their perseverance and determination. The incidence of food poisoning was acknowledged in public by the school as a response to the diagnosis and Johanna's findings. The problem was discussed at a meeting that was conducted with both the staff and the parents. Immediate action was taken to rectify the problem, which included conducting a comprehensive evaluation and redesign of the procedures being followed in the cafeteria. This prompt response by the school was a demonstration of the institution's dedication to the health and safety of its pupils. And it marked the beginning of important corrective action. Due to the shocking nature of the epidemic, the school community came together to show their support for the pupils who were afflicted. It was decided to arrange support groups and fundraising events. A great feeling of community and concern was demonstrated by the fact that both students and teachers went above and above to volunteer their time and resources in the face of adversity. This concerted effort served as a positive catalyst, drawing everyone together and strengthening their bonds. After being a source of concern in the past, the school has evolved into a center of support and togetherness. The school instituted new health and safety precautions in the cafeteria in order to forestall the occurrence of similar crimes in the future. It became the standard practice to conduct routine inspections, improve rules for food handling, and hold health education discussions. Additional training was provided to the personnel, and students were instructed on proper procedures for maintaining food safety. The implementation of these modifications resulted in a substantial enhancement of the school's approach to health and safety, thereby guaranteeing a more secure dining environment for all individuals. Mrs. Wilson took some time to ponder on the things that she had learned from the episode when she was alone in her office. The event had been difficult, but it had also been educational. And it had brought to light the significance of being vigilant and taking preventative actions in the field of healthcare. The impact that a school nurse could have, not only on individual pupils but also on the entire school community, was something that she became aware of. Her comprehension of her function and the potential it possessed to bring about change had been enhanced as a result of the occurrence. As the narrative came to an end, Mrs. Wilson sat in her office, reflecting on the journey that she had just completed. Her job as a school nurse had taken on a new level of significance and depth as a result of the crisis. She was aware of the significance of her role, which included not only playing the role of a caregiver but also that of a protector and champion for the health and safety of her students. Her devotion to her career was reaffirmed as a result of this fresh viewpoint. And she is now prepared to confront upcoming obstacles with self-assurance and compassion. After watching the story above, do you have any thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. If you enjoyed our video, please like, subscribe, and share our channel. That's all about today's stories. See you next time.